We are going live. So Shabbat Shalom, good to see your faces. For those on Zoom, for those on YouTube. So we are gonna jump in this morning with some expressions of gratitude. How beautiful it is that we just got to wake up and be here this morning together. Modani. Modani lefanecha, melechai v'kayam, shechezarta v'nishmati For those who have a talit, will join in our blessing of Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kidshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lehitatef B'tzitzit. Amen. So my friends, I don't know if you saw the announcement, but in March, we're back to multi-access services. So that means that people who want to be in our sanctuary can be there, and everybody else who wants to be on Zoom, you can keep doing what you're doing. But our sanctuary space will change soon. But for now, wherever you are, whatever your ohel or your mishkan, whatever dwelling place you're in, I want you to look around and just notice something good. Maybe it's something in your physical space. Today I'm going to choose to look outwards, out that window at that snow falling, because that is tov in my eyes. Maybe not to everyone, but for me, tov me'od, very good. So whatever's good in your space, you can even throw it in the chat to share with us, and we'll sing it together, Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu, O Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. What's good in your dwelling place? Ma Tovu, O Yaakov. Share it in the chat. Mishkenotecha Yisrael. One more time. Ma Tovu, O Alecha Yaakov. Mishkenotecha I see a unicorn. I see some coffee. There's so much goodness in our spaces this morning. So my friends, wherever we are, let's see. The cat, there's a cat as well as a unicorn who likes singing. There's some weather stripping, making that space warmer. All the goodness is coming in. So my friends, we shift our focus from what is around us thinking about our personal selves, our bodies. However we're doing, however good or not good our bodies are feeling this morning, we are here. Personally, I'm grateful to have more of a voice than I had last week. It's a big improvement, not perfect, but I'm here. So we'll read together our blessing for our bodies. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofe chol basar umafli la'asot, shifting our attention from our physical bodies to the wonder that they hold, our souls. Each of our souls were taught on Shabbat, was given to us uniquely by the divine, breathed into us. And so I'll invite us to just take a moment to connect with our breath. If you want to put your feet on the ground, sit up a little bit straighter, and just take one deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. We'll take one more deep breath. Now that we've awoken, noticed our bodies, our breath, the space around us, we are ready to fully pray, to fully give thanks for all of the instruments in our repertoire, all of the ways that we have to be able to express this sentiment of hallelujah. And whatever instruments we have or don't have, what one thing that we all have, our neshama, our soul, and that is the most important instrument of all. Hallelujah, 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 and the show. Let's pick it up. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm going to take a moment to adjust my Zoom screen so that I can see more of people's faces, because I saw some pretty good dancing and movement and energy there, and I just want to be able to experience the full thing. My friends, I hope that you feel a little bit more awake, a little bit more alive, a little bit more at home in your bodies. And with that energy in mind, we rise in body or in spirit for our Baruch Hu. Our Yotzer prayer, our prayer reminding us of this cycle of creation. We don't know what the next day is going to bring when we wake up in the morning, but one thing we can count on is that the sun is going to rise, even if we can't see it because there's a blizzard outside. It is there. And at night, it's going to go down, and the moon and the stars and those heavenly lights are going to come out again, even if we can't see them. We know that they're there. So we read together our Yotzer Or. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you form them all, filling the earth with your creatures. We praise Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands. For the lights you created, may they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we may all swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha-me'orot. We continue with our Shema, and I want to invite you to take each word this morning as one breath, going at your own pace. We'll meet up in that second line. Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Those who are standing can be seated. We'll continue with our V'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol nerdecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu totafot b'neinecha uv'chtavtam al mezuzot v'itecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Our Mi Chamocha moment, we imagine this moment of freedom, of celebration after the Israelites left Egypt and crossed to freedom for the very first time. This morning in religious school, since we're in the book of Exodus, we were talking about this story. And before Mi Chamocha, we told the story of Nachshon, who took that first step into the sea. And when we look at our text, our Hebrew text of Mi Chamocha, the first line, Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, our chaf, our ch sound full in our throats. And then the second line, Mi Chamocha. And the story is that Nachshon stepped in and actually walked into the depths of the water. And as the water got up to his chin, he said, Mi Chamocha, who is like you, God, offering those words of prayer, those words of hope. And he kept walking, and that water kept rising, entering into Nachshon's mouth. And if you've ever been underwater trying to pronounce a Hebrew chaf, it's kind of hard. And so the word shifted from Mi Chamocha to Mi Kamocha. Still, who is like you? And one of our youngest kids, Jacob, said, but how? How did the sea split? Seas don't just split. We said, well, that's the story. That's why Torah tells us that this was a miraculous moment, that a miracle happened. We don't expect to see our sea split every day, but it was because Nachshon had that faith. Literally, we started unpacking all of these words and phrases that have to do with jumping into water. Have you ever noticed? Getting your toes wet, jumping right in, diving in. So many of these colloquialisms in our language, and probably many other languages, have to do with just going for it, having that faith and taking that dive. We're gonna get a little bit more into that today in our Torah portion, where we talk about na'aseh v'nishma, that the Israelites heard the commandments and then they did them and then they heard them. Na'aseh first, the action first. Sometimes we have to take that leap of faith in order to experience the sweetness of freedom. We'll join together for our Mi Chamocha. you are, to get that feeling into your body, into your spirit. Just these words, yai lai lai. You don't even have to pay attention to the screen. Pay attention to yourself, pay attention to others, and just let the feelings, the sounds run through you. If you want to dance, dance. If you want to create instruments from your body, from your tables, whatever to help get you there. Yai lai 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 la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la 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 la. Yai lai lai la 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 la. I'm gonna need one more of those this morning. I'm seeing some good moves. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la 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 la. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai. It might be cold outside, but that can warm a body and a soul up. We continue with our Amidah rising in body or spirit, joining together. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zoher Chasei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Yahweh. Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Tarav Lehoshia, Mashiv Charua U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, L'Shenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, U'Midol Melech, Melech Mimit, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Neheman Atah Lehachayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shmakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatuv al yad neviecha, ve'kara ze u'ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tsevaot, Meloch ol haaretz, Kivodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo, Echad hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu ve'Hu Yashmienu, Ve'rachamav le'nei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Tzion, L'dor v'ador, Hallelujah. L'dor v'ador nagid God lecha, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושכחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You can be seated. So we have a prayer for this day of Shabbat. And I want to invite to hear somebody else's voice. Would anybody like to unmute and lead us in these words this morning? Freema. I heard Freema, and then tomorrow we'll find you one. Thank you. All right, Freema, go for it.
Tamara, you want to do it?
That's fine. You can do it, Freema. Thanks.
Okay. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Freema.
You're welcome.
We'll take a moment and think about things that we are grateful for. If you want to unmute and share something that you are feeling grateful for this morning, please, you can also type in the chat. Go for it, Freema.
I am grateful to see all these wonderful smiling faces. I love to see everybody's face. And people that I haven't seen in a while, I send all my love. And just for everybody to stay safe today, no matter what you want to do. And just that we should all think about each other and just try to do happy thoughts. Thank you.
I see someone on the phone who's unmuted.
It is Beverly, and I want to just say how grateful I am that Rabbi Pinsky, you are feeling better, because I'm rocking over here in my beautiful, beautiful living room, looking out of the window, looking at the shul across the street from me. I share a backyard with the Kingsway Jewish Center. And I just want to say how grateful I am for this service, because you are definitely reaching my soul, and I am very happy to be here.
Thanks, Beverly. Mona.
I'm grateful that yesterday I spent a wonderful day with an old friend, and we were able to go to Hudson Yards and have a wonderful lunch, and that it snowed today and not yesterday.
Amazing. Let's see. Robert.
Hello. I'm grateful that last night, Joshua and I watched a movie on Netflix for the first time in a long time, and we saw The Power of the Dog.
Watched a Netflix movie. It's a little bit hard to hear, but Netflix movie, you can put in the chat what movie if you recommend it.
The Power of the Dog.
The Power of the Dog. Okay, Stan.
Yes, it's a very good movie.
I was just waving to Robert.
Amazing. Okay.
I'm gonna wave back, Stan.
Amazing. Okay, in the chat, let's see. Supportive and caring neighbors, friends, beautiful sunrises, sunsets, so close to surroundings of nature. Celebrated your daughter's 30th birthday, Karen. Wow, and your partner's upcoming birthday tomorrow. That's a lot of birthday love and energy. Safe, cozy, warm in your space on a snowy winter day. The NYPD to fill kitchen with the smell of quiches and tarts. Ellen, you're going to have to put in the chat what kind of quiche, and if it's vegetarian, how we can share recipes and get me in on this.
Send samples.
And samples, yeah. My friends, I am so grateful for all of you to see your faces, your energy. And we will continue moving from this boisterous joy, focusing inwards a little bit with some moments. Oh, Freema, before we do that.
Rabbi, it's Deborah Davis's birthday. We have
It's
to say
Deborah's
happy
birthday! Happy birthday!
It's also Lillian Schwartz's birthday today.
Also Lillian, so many birthdays.
Oh.
Wow. All
Deborah
right.
Schwartz too.
Wow. Stan.
Other than sharing the Shabbat services, we're actually sharing each other on this Zoom, and for that I am grateful.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh my gosh. What can you imagine if this was the energy we felt at every moment in our lives? If we could just cultivate this? I see the smiling. There's also, if you ever can't, if you just smile, like for a certain period of time, or I read an article this week, if you laugh and you like fake laugh and you do that for at least 20 seconds, it will turn into real laughter and you can stimulate those joyful hormones in your brain and body. All right, so we're gonna rein it in. We'll take another deep breath and we'll take a few moments of silent prayer. All right, so our Torah portion this morning, we are in the book of Exodus. This is a special Torah portion for me because it's my bat mitzvah versary. It's my bat mitzvah Torah portion. And I don't remember exactly what I talked about, but I do remember the opening line. The name of my Torah portion is Mishpatim. It's delivered just as well as it was all those years ago, right? Thank you for indulging me this. So, my friends, we are in the book of Exodus. And, it's interesting when you go back to a Torah portion after time. I mean, we come back every year. But I remember, during my bat mitzvah, talking about, okay, so, the people were going up the mountain and they had to wait and talked about patience and perseverance. But there's a lot going on in Mishpatim. Some of it more pleasant than others. So we start off with rules about how to treat slaves. Then we get into some other rules, the rules of a goring ox. What happens if your ox gets loose? But then we move past all of that to where I want to look this morning. And that is, I will share our text with us, just a tiny snippet of the Hebrew and English. But before we do that, our Torah Blessings. I'll invite us to join together. Whoever would like to unmute and join leading this aliyah, I'll invite you to do that so we can see each other's faces and hear whoever's voices we pick up. So whoever wants to, we can unmute. All right, go for it. We're all gonna do this together. All right, 1, 2, 3. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamorah.
Eloheinu melech olam.
ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך
Adonai.
נותן התורה. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We're gonna zoom in. V'ger lo tona v'lo tirchatzenu ki gerim haytem be'eretz Mitzrayim kol almana v'yatom lo ta'anun im anei ta'anei oto ki im Sa'ok Yitzchak Elai Shamoa Eshma Tza'akato V'hara Afi V'haragti Etchem Becharev V'chayu Nashechem Amanot Uvnehem Yetomim. So we can join together for our blessing after Torah, and then we're going to unpack a little bit of this text. Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu
melech olam.
asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam natan
b'socheinu.
Baruch
Baruch
atah
Adonai.
Adonai
HaTorah.
Amen. Beautiful.
Amen.
So, my friends, we are still, so mishpatim, in and of itself, the name of this Torah portion means rules or laws or statutes. Ve'ela mishpatim asher tasim lifnechem. Here are the rules I'm setting before you. We proceed to get 5-6 chapters of a lot of rules. And we focus now, in the beginning here, we start to get to rules a little more justice-oriented. We start here with, you shall not wrong or oppress the stranger. All right, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt, our most often repeated Torah most often repeated commandment in Torah. We actually get this twice in our Torah portion. Just after this text, we'll have it again, and it will say, you shouldn't oppress the stranger, for you know the soul, the nefesh, the heart of the stranger. And then we go in to these categories of people who are maybe less fortunate than ourselves, people for whom oppression can come a little bit easier in our societies. The almanah, the widow, the yatom, the orphan. And so with these two lines, we have our 3 categories that the rabbis call upon: our ger, our stranger, our widow, and our orphan. The 3 categories of people who are most susceptible to oppression. And God says that you should not treat any of these categories of people wrong. Really, you shouldn't treat anybody wrong, but particularly, we're going to focus on these 3 categories of people: the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. And God even goes further. If you should mistreat them, I'm going to heed their outcry, and my anger is going to blaze forth so that you are going to experience the reciprocal punishment of what you doled out. If you oppress a widow, it doesn't look good for your family because we're going to make your wife a widow. If you oppressed an orphan, well, God's going to take up that sword and the oppressor, well, your children are going to become orphans. This is harsh. Now, I said that this wasn't necessarily the most joyful Torah portion, right? It's quite harsh. And actually, when we think about the divisions in our Torah portion and in our Haftarah portion, really any text that we encounter, there is a rabbinic innovation or thought that we're always supposed to end on what's called a nechemta, or something that can bring us comfort, kind of a positive note. But actually, in this text, we have a traditional marking that this is where kind of this section of our text comes to a close. And, ending with, hey, if you oppress those people, I'm going to take a fiery sword and it's going to be a reciprocal punishment to you. It's not the most comforting thing, right? Like, it's disturbing. My anger is going to blaze like a fiery sword. We're talking about smiting people. Now, in the surface, 100%, I find this disturbing. And if we unpack it a little bit and look at the messaging, there are people who are so disadvantaged in our society. And we can see the stranger. So the stranger. Now, the Israelites and the people who were strangers, the Israelites were referred to as strangers when they were in Egypt. But the Israelites, we know from the story, actually lived in Egypt hundreds of years. It wasn't as though they just got there, didn't know anybody, right? But the idea that they were strangers and they were living on that land for so long puts them in this category of otherness. Somebody can be within a group, within a society, within a land. It doesn't matter how long, but if there is an outside view thrust upon to those people that they are in some way other, that otherness has a way of sticking. An orphan and a widow. I mean, we're talking about a patriarchal society where all of land, all of property, all rulings are decided by the men. And so if you have no man in your family, then you are put in a position that is quite hard. Who's going to take care of you? So we can think of a lot of parallels in our world. In some ways, we as a Jewish community, we still are that ger. Right? We like to talk about our history, especially as American Jews, that we made it, right? Looking at the big history, okay, the 1800s, the German Jewish community comes in, does quite well. I will admit, I'm a Jewish studies major. I'm a big Jewish history nerd. So I'm going to take this moment to reflect 2 minutes and we're going to talk about that scope of American Jewry, right? And then the 1880s see all of these pogroms, particularly in Eastern Europe. And so we get Eastern European Jews flocking to the Golden Medina, this promised land of America, right? The streets are paved with gold. Everything's going to be good. And the Eastern European Jews flock in greater numbers than we ever saw for those first German Jewish immigrants. And guess what? The German Jews, they were not so welcoming of the Eastern European Jews. Those Eastern European Jews, they were the strangers, they were the others, and they didn't want anything to do with them. And things didn't go so well. We fast forward a couple of years, it's the 1920s, and now all of the Jewish community is being blocked out from proper American society. Things are going to get better. We're going to have a little bit of a height, especially in the 1950s. The synagogue is going to become the thriving home of Jewish culture, of communities coming together. And then as time goes on, we're going to see this integration of Jews and Judaism into the broader American culture. And things are looking pretty good. Things are even looking pretty good today. But we know that there will always be moments, no matter how long we've been here, no matter how long our families have been here, there are always going to be moments that people in this land look to us as the ger, as the stranger, as the other. We know, we saw this 2 Shabbatot ago. We continue to see this. And I think that in the midst of this, we have to hold on to these dueling identities that each of us have. We can at one point be free. We can be part of a thriving culture. And we can still be that ger, that stranger. Maybe from the outside, but also within, right? We can be in a community and there can be any one of us at any moment who's here, who's present, who doesn't exactly feel like they fit. It's not only our job as the Jews, we knew the heart of the stranger. We know what it feels like in our bodies, in our souls. And so it is incumbent upon us, even though we might still be considered the stranger, it's incumbent upon us to look to those other groups of people who might be othered by the greater society, to welcome them in. And even if we are strangers in any society, we have the ability to reach out, to build bridges to anybody else who might ever feel like an other. And building strong communities. You know, last weekend, the kind of Shabbat post Colleyville, where that was the focus of so many of our communities, one thing that I saw was that a lot of synagogues across the country had folks from other communities coming in to show support. A strong standing of people from the Muslim community, a strong standing of leaders in the Christian community, even city and state officials coming to show that, yeah, you know what? There might be an overarching little trickle of people trying to other us in this world, but that is not what is acceptable in the majority culture. That if such things happen, and when they happen, that there will be a reciprocal and even stronger reaction to counterbalance. Maybe that's coming from the divine. And I would say that Judaism teaches we all are created b'Tselem Elohim. We all have that divine spark in us. So we all have the power to be divine actors in these situations. We have the power, when we see injustice, to act against it, to not just stop it, but to have a reciprocal reaction. I am not telling us to smite people. Please do not get that. That is not what I'm saying. But bringing it with that theme of positivity that we've been holding, we have the ability to reflect more positivity to somebody who doesn't get to experience that. We have the ability, for someone who is not welcomed, we have the ability to open our arms and our hearts and welcome. For somebody that does not have enough, we have the ability to give in whatever way we can, even if we don't have physical resources ourselves. We can help spread the word. We can help build community. We always have that ability and that responsibility to reach out and help, whether it is clean cut into those categories of the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. It's up to us to expand our definitions of who is it? Who is it that's othered? Maybe it's someone in our own community. Maybe it's someone in our neighborhood. Maybe it's someone who we don't even know across the world who we can reach out to. But whatever it is, Eile HaMishpatim, these are the rules and the statutes. This is what was passed down to us through all of these generations to remember. We all have that bit of the divine. we all have that ability and responsibility to reach out and make the world just a little bit more just. May it be so. My friends, we now turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, or of spirit. I'm going to pull up our Misha Beirach list. 1 second, it went away. So if we'll read together the names of those in our Beshert community in need of healing of mind, body, spirit, and then I'll invite folks to either share names aloud of anybody that you're thinking of or share names in our chat. So this week, our Beshert community is thinking about Jesse Sakharoff, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Rabbi Darrell Lerner, Susan Sisler, Joe Ellen Fox, Alan Freemer, Valerie Pace, George Landberg, Susan Bilecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Barbara Weiner, Joan Lifshitz, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Deanna Roth, Jonathan Falkowski, Martha and Ed Vincent, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Vicki Lightnaker, Sarah Brooks Kamen, Nettie Traumer, Mia Gannon, Jerry Prezioso, Jeff Abel, Patricia Christensen, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Jordan Smith, Sandra Pastor, Henny Fisher, Irv Golden, Brian Abelman, John Vanderhorn, Donna Clement, Florence Schoen, Rachel Korazim, Rita Soul, Lou Levinson, Elliot Drucker, Ted and Albert Galanter, Zita Novick, Rosa Gordon, Adele Milch, Miriam and Arthur Goldstein, Edie Buckner, Chris Hayden, Jennifer Middleton, Jerry Jaffe, Liz Yasuda, Mark and Paul Steiner, Mimi and Celia Karp, Sharon Zinn, Nicole Moskowitz, Marion Mandel, Anne Marie Rogan, Richard Zagam, Marion Allen, John Reagan, Alani Spivak, Michelle Bracco, John Bile, Les Schenker, Harold Lieberman, Jane Lieberman, Cynthia Wilson, Caitlin Rose Manginelli, Patricia Matthews. Is there anybody who would like to unmute Mona and Deborah?
Yes, I started typing it in. Jeannie Arcello, Delphine Wolf, and Alita and Pat Colella, and Robert Carlsberg.
Thanks.
Margaret Dromey, Carol Hirschman, Anita Murray, Mary Simons, Michael McCarthy, Rosemary Isaacson, Chris Brophy, Margaret Speyer. Thank you.
I'll share those names from the chat. Rebecca Rothstein, Bambi Polk, Melissa Polk, Robert Carlsberg, Alita and Pat, Paul Markowitz, Nancy Kelly, Suzanne Mishler Hernandez, Baby James Scarpula, Elliot Woofsey, Ron Creaky, Laura Creaky, Susan and Tony V. Thank you for putting my name. Jean and Larry Green, Eve Heyman, Estelle Altor, Kazizi Potsdam, Brenda McBasey, Brenda Kit Rosser, Beatrice Taylor. Is that Beverly who's unmuted? Someone?
It is Beverly. I just want to say Susie Berkowitz, Jamie Rich, Ellen Hoyt, Sarah Braver, and a wonderful person that I work with who's recovering from COVID, Caitlin.
Thanks, Freema.
Carol Beanstock, Francina Mitchell, Popowitz, Kathy's brother, Gabby, Lucy Palazzolo, Martin Bennett, Reva and David Cohen, and Phyllis O'Neill. Thank you.
Also from the chat, Michael Cohen, John Lohman, Jack Taylor, and Julie Taylor. Any other names that we would like to share? We hold all of those names in our hearts and continue together singing Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor Havraha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach imotenu mikor havraha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. I'm grateful for whoever added me. I will say it's no longer necessary. I am feeling very good. My voice is still very weird. I don't think I've ever hit that low of a note for me. I couldn't even start it on the guitar because it's just one of the fun things that's still going on. But I do want you to know I'm feeling much better. Robert. Yeah.
I bring into the healing energy that we've all generated together, Eli Sheva Nesher. Eli Sheva Nesher. I bring her into the healing energy.
Thanks, Robert. All right. We'll continue. Aleinu l'shabeach will rise in body or spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol lateit gidula liotzer b'reshit shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikara v'shamayim mimal u'shchinatu zo b'govchei meromim u'Eloheinu einod ve'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, loved ones whom we've lost in recent days or at this time in years past. We think specifically of those we've lost recently in our community: Fran Arnowitz, Della Cohen, Selma Carl, Harold Carl, Emily Seff, Moshe Usher Reinitz, Huma Saber, Layla Bloomfield, John Carfisi, Andy Glansman, Todd Zeitlin, John Privat Jr., Augie Dorio, Janet Esposito, Kay Josephs, Arnold Block, Elizabeth Clark, Kyle McGee Sr., Ida Houston, Louisa Espute, Perry De La Touche, Ira Roth, Roberta Hyrath, George Liss, Reverend Claude Park Street, Sylvia Tishkovich, Ellen Belofsky, Cindy Ritagliata, Dolores Weinberger, Suzanne Leknos, Shirley Kofker, Lillian Frost Ridgely, Thomas Marinan, Meg Goldate, Marguerite Romeo, John Young, Isadora Frost, Fred Perlman, Claire Kramer, Bob Ira Kleinberg, Dorothea Schuring, Peter Brandenberger, Lloyd Ricketts, Ellie Heimlich, Sherry Burns, Terry Singer, Henry Kuhn, Lily Zimmett, Bob Perlman, and Ira Berkowitz. I'll share so we can take a moment to see our yard site list for this week. And I will read those names shared in the chat. Fire victims, police officers, Leon Davis. Deborah, will you pronounce that for us? Because I don't want it to get it wrong, the monk who recently passed.
Hiknat Han.
Yes, an amazing spiritual leader. Anybody else have any names that we'd like to share out loud?
Rabbi Pinsky, I'd like to say a name very important to me. It's my father, Harry Berkowitz. Harry Berkowitz died 7 years ago on this date. And I have to say that he was all about loving the stranger. So this was a very, very, very important and poignant service. And I know that he was with me the whole entire time.
Thanks, Beverly. We're holding you and sending love. Frima?
Jack Mandel and Betty Rubel. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we hold all of our loved ones, those whose names were shared, those whose names were not, those who were held in our heart, and folks who don't have Kaddish, don't have people to say Kaddish for them. And we join together words of Kaddish Yatum. Rise according to your custom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma dvira hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'alam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei t'kodisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of all of our loved ones be for a blessing. So just looking at what is happening this week. On Monday at 4 o'clock, we've got Gentle Chair Yoga with Gail Levine Freed. You can register from our website or from the link that was sent out in the What's Happening email at 7 p.m. on Monday. The Interfaith Coalition is discussing the novel The World That We Knew by Alice Hoffman on Zoom. Tuesday, as of every Tuesday, 1 o'clock, Torah study with me. We are making our way through the book of Genesis. And then we continue with our regular services. Any other community announcements that we're missing?
One.
We have a Valentine's Day Zoom wine tasting experience on February 13th, Sunday. Yes, it's on Super Bowl Sunday, which was a big oversight, not a genius alternative to people who don't like football. But in any case, we're doing it. You can register online. The wine can be purchased from a place called Gnarly Vines, or you can purchase from any local place, or you could just have a mocktail. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun because Emma Tattenbaum-Fine and her husband, Luke Krafka, are very entertaining people. And even if you don't drink, you'll have a lot of fun. So I think 7 o'clock, by the way.
We're totally framing this as it was an absolute intentional, like some people are going to be watching the Super Bowl. Some people are going to be sipping on this rosé. If you want to do both, that's beautiful. But this is, an alternate event that is geniusly planned.
Oh, sure. Genius.
Yeah, absolutely. My friend.
I'm going to do both.
Yeah, you can do both. Whatever you need, whatever you want, whatever brings joy. Oh my goodness. So those words that close out our Kaddish are ones of hope, of peace, of joy. Oseh shalom b'imromav. May the one who makes peace above make peace for all of us, for all Israel, for all people. So we are going to add the words after Ve'al Kol Yisrael. We're going to add Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. I'm going to put that in the chat. Ve'al Kol. The Zoom chat has been more forgiving with my Hebrew these days, less autocorrect. A blessing for all of us as we move into this Shabbat snow, the Shabbat of snow, if you're gonna go out or if you're gonna stay home and cozy. Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God's face shine upon you and may God be good to you. May you feel a divine presence always, and may you feel peace, shalom, and wholeness, shlemut. Amen. Shabbat